For the first time ever in the UK, we had Strongman live on national TV, and we're going to discuss whether it was a hit or a miss. So UK's Strongest Man this weekend, I got to say it was a fantastic competition straight off the bat. I don't want to sort of drag people into a hit or miss type thing. I genuinely really enjoyed it. We're going to discuss the pros and the cons, but I want to start off real positive. I thought it was great. 2-day competition, live for 3 hours on the Saturday and the Sunday on Channel 5. Now, Channel 5 in the UK is one of the major 5 TV channels. Obviously, you know, originally we had 3 major channels. That was back in when BBC used to host World's Strongest Man, and the viewing figures were huge. And then they added Channel 4 and eventually Channel 5. They are the 5 major TV channels in the UK, and this was on Channel 5. Same TV network that showed World's Strongest Man in the UK. So this was a big deal for the Ultimate Strongman team and the UK's Strongest Man.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. I mean, there's so much tradition in the UK when it comes to Strongman. We're used to just seeing it at Christmas time over the winter. So the fact that it was shown at a completely different time of the year, but also live, it is a huge deal, because this is a channel that anyone with a TV can access, and you don't even need a TV. If you're in the UK, you can watch it on a mobile device too. Yeah,
they have their on-demand section, and if people want to, download a VPN and you can kind of watch it. But for UK fans, this was a real treat. And, you know, there were a couple of mishaps, a couple of things that can be improved on, but the positives were very, very good in my opinion. So we should probably start off with how the competition went.
Yes.
And, you know, it was a 2-day competition, as we said earlier. The first day was what they call the semi-finals. 2 groups split to 6 athletes in each. The top 3 from each group went through automatically, and then the bottom 3 in each group did an eliminator. Now, this was a little bit like gladiator style. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the final events being like a stone off or something kind of random where the athlete behind may be just really good at that event and have a big advantage in terms of they could be like 8-9 points behind but still get through to the final. And I think for non-strongman fans it's probably quite exciting.
Yeah.
I think for competitors a little bit less so.
No, but saying that, I do feel like the guy who was leading had a really decent advantage. So if we take group B it was, for example, Killian had a 6-point lead over Paddy, which meant he had a 6-meter head start.
Yeah, so the last event was the Steps from Hell, a duck walk implement where they had to kind of run up a step, over the step, run to the platform, and then carry it up the power stair implement at the end. And yeah, every point you got a 1 meter advantage. So it was a big advantage if you had that, but even still, Paddy almost caught him up.
Yeah, Paddy did, and because Paddy's really good at that
Yes,
event,
and obviously, you know, I'm just not a fan of those type of events. However, I do understand some people like the excitement of an event like that. And the one thing I will say and give UKs their due on this, or their credit, is that they change it all the time.
They do.
They don't always just do a stone off as the qualifying event. They randomly change it every single year. Yeah. So I do like that aspect. So event 1 was the truck pull, and they did this the night before, I believe. So this was the only event that wasn't live during the show.
No, so they had the time to edit it down and then play it as if it was live on the Sunday. And I think for an event like the truck pull, that actually works really, really well, because we know the reset can take a long time.
I'm going to criticise again here, because there was a bit of a weird rule where the athlete kind of started at the finish line, had to run down and get themselves into the harness.
As part of the timed
and you did see some athletes kind of struggling with that a little bit.
I would fumble that so badly. I know myself, and I panic, and
I've seen you getting into your clothes on.
Exactly.
You know, falling on the bed and all sorts.
What? Not that bad.
But, so this was a bit of an interesting one. The actual truck pull itself was great. It was 2 trucks actually.
Yeah.
UKs do make their events heavy. So 2 trucks that they had to pull. They kind of got the first one going, and then the second one kicks in a little bit down the course. No rope as well. So it was all just the harness. And Paul Smith ended up taking the win on this one, showing real good technique. So the first actual live event of the finals was the tyre flip. Now, this tyre was massive, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was absolutely huge. And I think maybe the weight there was misjudged a little bit, because we didn't see many flips for the win, did we?
No, I mean, there was a number of athletes that couldn't flip it at all.
Yeah.
The winning flip was 4 flips, I believe. Very, very heavy tyre. Now, tyres do vary completely in competition, and tyres are one of those events that are exceptionally dangerous. I know some promoters argue with me on this point, but if we look at how many athletes have injured themselves in competitions and how many injuries have been on attire, I think this is one of the highest profile events to cause injuries. We did have a slight bicep injury to Stephen Jackson. However, it wasn't enough to pull him out of the competition. No. So more of a strain on the bicep than anything else. Sometimes when a tire is super heavy, it's actually a little bit safer because you can't just rip it up with the biceps. So in that respect, it is good. But they did the car roll the day before in the heats. That's two events that can kind of really tax the same sort of muscle group. So just sometimes need to think about the athletes, how many events they've got to do and where we can kind of look after them best that we can.
So, like you said, 4 flips for the win, and it was won by Lewis Jack, but there were 3 athletes who couldn't flip it at all.
Next event was the Daddy Dumbbell. This is a 90-kilo dumbbell to the shoulder and pressed as many times as possible. The athletes don't have to lower it to the ground as well. No. However, the Daddy Dumbbell, I mean, circus dumbbells have a big diameter handle as it is, but the Daddy Dumbbell is even bigger. So just having that control of the implement is really vital on this type of event. Good judging, I thought, from Terry Hollands, looking like an absolute buff referee in this competition.
He's like a really buff John Anderson from the Gladiators.
Very strict refereeing, but strict for everyone.
Yeah,
I think he got all the calls right on this. And dumbbell is one of those events that we do see some calls that maybe people don't agree with. I think Terry absolutely, nailed it on this. Yeah. And Paul Smith took the win on this one, getting 9 repetitions.
So the penultimate event was the car hold. So they were wearing straps for this. So less of a test of grip, but more just all-out endurance and pain tolerance. And this one was done head-to-head. And again, it was won by Paul Smith. Paul and Lewis were the last pairing. Lewis looked like he was going to go down and managed to hold on longer. So real show of grit and determination by both of them.
Yeah. And the final event was the Atlas Stones. And I must say, Glenn has changed his Atlas Stones. They're not as hard as the ones he used to have, or not as dusty and awkward. They're more a normal set of stones.
They're still quite big, though, aren't they?
Diameter is big, yes. And obviously, a number of athletes couldn't finish these, particularly after a 2-day competition. You are feeling it at this point. Lewis Jack came out on top with the Atlas Stones, but Paul Smith knew exactly what he needed to do. And in fact, Paul was in such a good position. He needed a fast 2 at this point to secure the overall win. But Paul almost took the win on the stones as well. He was in great shape for this competition. However, Lewis Jack back in top level action, taking the win on his favourite event. So good to see him finish strong. But it was Paul Smith that ended up being the champion. Lewis Jack taking 2nd place, and the big battle for 3rd and 4th between Sean and Andy Flynn. Andy Flynn got on top and ended up in 3rd at the UK's.
So let's talk production then. I thought it was really good. I know there were a few mistakes with graphics and names and points being in the wrong place.
But let's be honest, we see that in almost any competition.
Yeah, we do. Pretty much every single competition. But I love the fact, because we're used to these, produced shows where you've got commentary, analysis, presenter, but to have it all coming together live at the same time, I thought they did a good job.
They did a really good job. I really liked the team they put together. I thought the analysis was great. The commentators were great. Presenting was good. I would like to see someone that knows a little bit more about the sport as the reporter on doing the interviews with the athletes. Nothing against Gail Ems, I think it was. She's a former Olympian. She did a great job. However, I think we have some great people within the sport now that can do these roles. And some of the women that we have involved in some of the Giants Live shows and other shows, I think they could be perfect in that role. They know about the sport. They know the right questions to ask.
You're limited when you don't.
This is nothing against. It would be like me asking about, like, I don't know,
curling.
Curling. If you don't have that inside knowledge, sometimes, like, it can look impressive to you, but the person that they're asking the question is like really pissed off because they've done something that's not so good for them. And I think just having someone that. But that again can be any competition, so I'm being really nitpicky. But Radzi is an incredible presenter. I thought great. Lalas and Jamie Reeves were amazing as well as analysis, both doing a fantastic job there. And I've got to say, I thought the competition was great. One little thing, day 1 we had the opening event was the bar bend. Now, bar bending, I think, is a fun thing to do as an exhibition. I've done it in schools many times. I don't think it's the best event to open to for this type of competition. I think they should have started with the car flip. Yeah,
I think so too. I think it was a slow start with the bar bend and not that impressive looking.
Not that impressive, not that
for
exciting.
Any channel surfers just flicking through, I think we could have lost them there.
You flick through and see someone flipping a car.
I'm going to carry on watching. Yeah,
so,
100%.
Yeah, a couple of things I'll say about the UK is, one, it is a very tough competition. I've competed in it myself a couple of times. Very, very hard and challenging. I think this is fantastic for Strongman. It's fantastic for the UK's and for Ultimate Strongman's team. And once again, I think they did a great job. Can it be better? Of course it can. But for the first time doing a live TV show for Strongman, I thought they did an excellent job.
It could have been so, like, we have seen some genuine horrors, haven't we? We were in South Carolina when Clash on the Coast was live on ESPN, and we had some major production issues there, didn't we? And I feel like Glenn and his team, our sport was in safe hands this weekend with them. I do feel like they did a good job and they did us justice.
Yeah.
Because there's that risk, isn't there?
Of course there is. You put in a sport that we all love, and, you know, on national TV, you want it to come across well. I, as a fan, thoroughly enjoyed it. I know you did. I was at the gym when it first started, and you were kind of ringing me, giving me the updates.
I was telling you, yeah, wow. Yeah, I'm a fan.
Exactly. So if you haven't seen it, you can catch up on Channel 5 on demand. How you get that in other countries is going to be a little bit more difficult.
I'm sure there's a way.
I'm sure there is as well. But yes, I thought they did a great job. Enjoyed the show. Let us know if you watched it and let us know your thoughts as well. And congratulations to now the 3-time winner of the UK's Strongest Man, Paul Smith.